Is it wrong to want an apology? Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Hi everyone, Linda here with Love Song Reiki. So let's talk about apologies and expectations for apologies. Is it wrong, someone would ask, to expect an explicit apology? Someone who has hurt you in any way, is it wrong to expect them to come to you, be emotionally mature enough to be able to come to you and express an apology, a sincere apology? Nope, it's not wrong. It's human. However, holding on to the expectation of receiving that apology could damage you. So let's talk about ways to look at apologies and maybe how to deal with them. So if you have someone in your life that you know really, really well, and they've done something and you want an apology from them, and it's not been coming and you're seething underneath because you really want that explicit apology. Well, I encourage you, for that person that you know really well, step back and look at them from a slightly different perspective. Think about all the times in the past with other people and with you. What level of emotional maturity do they display? And when I say maturity, I mean connectedness to themselves and to understanding other people's emotions. Have you ever heard them issue a sincere apology? Do they really seem to be in touch with their own feelings? Do they seem to understand when other people are hurting? If not, then perhaps you should not be expecting an explicit apology from that person. There are so many reasons why someone isn't able to offer an explicit apology. So let's go over a couple of those. I've got some notes here, so bear with me. That person may be ashamed by what they did, and they're just not able within themselves. They don't have it within themselves to deal with that shame, and they don't want to look at it in themselves, so they don't want to think that other people really see that, and they don't want to experience that. So they're not going to say what they did out loud because it's shameful. It also is vulnerable to open yourself up to somebody and go, wow, I know that I hurt you by what I've done, am doing, have been doing. It's too vulnerable, and that person may not be in a place where they're able to do that. Look, we all have different paths of our spirit. We all have different woundings from our childhoods, from past lives. So again, that person just may not be able to offer it because they feel shame, or maybe it's too vulnerable. Maybe also that person is prideful, full of ego, that they can do no wrong. Therefore, what they did, it really isn't going to hurt them because I feel good about it. And it might even give me some control over that person, so I'm not going to apologize. They may feel justified in their action. Yeah, we all know people who feel justified when they hurt others. Does it make it right? No. But again, if they feel justified, there's really nothing that will make them understand that they hurt you because they feel that they were right to do so. Apologizing could bring consequences, and they may not want to face what the consequences could be. There could be some pretty steep consequences, but also that shows that they're not trusting the other person, if you know each other really well, to work through it with the person. Now, might there ultimately be consequences that no one really wants, that are scary? Yes, but at least it could be talked through and maybe handled with love and compassion with each other, as opposed to anger and frustration and just maybe ending a relationship or ending a friendship without even talking about it. They may just be unable to see that they did any harm. They could be gaslighting and say, that really didn't happen. It's not the way it was, blah, 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 even though you understand that how it affected you, and they're not able to see how it affected you. Again, that kind of comes back to the emotional maturity part of it. Like, how in touch are they with themselves? How are they in touch with understanding how other people feel and react? So gaslighting comes into that, where they tell you, you just really didn't experience what you really experienced, when you really did. Even if you have proof, they're going to tell you, no, you didn't have that. You didn't see it. You don't know what you're talking about. They may have been raised in a home where apologies were not normal. And if you did admit to something, you'd get punished. Or maybe the apologies were insincere, and you know that the people who were, like, for instance, if you had a confrontation with your parents and they may apologize, they may not really mean it, but they just may think, well, I hurt the kid, let me tell them I'm sorry. And maybe they really aren't, those kind of little things that really build up, little things build up in people, making it difficult for them to apologize. Evidently, in some cultures, direct apologies are not promoted. It's more like indirect, like someone, for instance, may come to you with a gift. They may just change their behavior. So indirect apologies. They could be not apologizing because they don't want conflict. Well, they don't understand that by not working through it with the person, there's more conflict because there's that underlying seething, that underlying resentment, and that's going to ultimately damage and injure the relationship even further. The person you're speaking with, or you've had the confrontation with, or the person that hurt you, they may just not know how to say it or what to say, either outwardly or in writing. So they feel like they just don't know how to express themselves, so they're just not going to. And others just feel entitled to do whatever they want to do, and if it hurts somebody, then what the heck. So if you're holding on to expectation and the person that you're dealing with isn't able to apologize to you, then you're hurting yourself. You're creating your own suffering by holding on to an expectation that truly can never be fulfilled. So what do you do then? Well, you say, okay, I see this person, I see their soul, I see how they have been in the past. I understand that what I want isn't forthcoming. So I'm going to release the expectation, but what I am going to do is perhaps set some boundaries. So maybe you just allow that person in your life less. Maybe that person comes to you and does, for instance, the apology that's more like gifts, changing their behavior, speaking in a different way, but telling yourself that if it happens again, since there can't be any discussion about it because the person won't discuss it or can't discuss it, then you have to decide at that point to maybe set a more strict boundary. It's compassionate to yourself to not hold on to an expectation for something that cannot come. And it's not about you, it's about the other person when it comes to getting that apology. So the only thing you can control in this situation is yourself. So if you're going to hold on to that suffering, then you're just going to carry that around, and you're not going to feel good. So if you can be compassionate to yourself, and if you can be compassionate to that person, even though what they may have done was not good, it didn't feel good, it wasn't right in human society, it wasn't right in a relationship, if you can let go of the need to hear it explicitly from their mouth or in writing that they are sorry, then you can move forward in a state of inner peace and groundedness. At that point, when you're in inner peace and groundedness, you can set boundaries for yourself, both now and for in the future and in future interactions with this person. So is it wrong to want an apology? No. But holding on to that expectation is going to create suffering. If you've really sat back and examined your situation, the relationship with the person or the entity, but releasing it, if over time one's not going to come, is truly your best course of action, in compassion for yourself and for the other person's soul path. So anyways, I hope this rambling about apologies helps. Love y'all. Bye for now.